My dear friends of Guatemala, I am honored and very fortunate to be here again today to, a new virtual interview. Times are great and you are making this show even better for our guests. In the edition of Guatemala Presenta today, we have a really amazing musician. He can play many instruments. He has talent to create and put together the most amazing songs. With us today to talk about his solo project, ladies and gentlemen, the great Duncan Patterson. How are you?
I'm fine, mate. Thank you for inviting me on the show. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Woo! What a great feeling, man. With all your respect, this is truly amazing to make a ton of questions. You're indeed a legend of the 90s metal music, and well, you're still doing music. Tell us what's the news nowadays.
I just released a new album last week called Grace Road. It's very gothic, very ambient gothic, piano based. It's not really rock and roll. It's not heavy like some of my older stuff, but it's very gothic like all of my compositions tend to be. So I've just been working, trying to promote this because I'm doing it all DIY. I'm doing it all myself. I don't have a record label or a publicist or anything like that. So I'm working on that daily at the moment.
So you have this new album out now called Grace Road. Why did you pick such name for your latest release?
Well, Grace Road, like when I was a baby, like when I was born, that was my street. I lived on a road called Grace Road, and my cousin said he has good memories from this place, and he told me it'd be a great title for an album. So I decided to use it, and it fitted in with the things I was writing about at the time. So that's why I chose this one, and it fits. I think it fits with the artwork, and I think it fits with the concepts and everything.
Definitely does, man. It goes along with the flow, with the music, with what we feel when we listen to it.
Yeah. So sometimes words just work, don't they? They just fit in, and there's no big deep explanation. Sometimes things are just compatible visually as well, visually and the way they sound. Not everything has this massive deep connection or whatever, but this does actually. But for me personally, but the majority of people won't know my story or won't know where Grace Road is or anything. It just it works. It's a nice title. I like it.
Definitely does. Thank you for sharing that info with us. We all know that most musicians were indeed working on new releases during the lockdown. I read that this new material has been cooking since almost a decade. Is that right?
Yeah, a long time ago. I'd started to write music for what was going to be the third Alternative Thought record. That I had some ideas which ended up on Grace Road, and I wasn't sure what to do with them. And then I did the Eternity Suite about 6 years ago, and then I took a break. I took a long break. I ran out of energy to make music, and I disappeared for various years in Mexico, and I didn't think I was going to get the energy back to make music again. And then I did, like, after my first child was born, after my son was born, and I stopped drinking before he was born. And I had a new focus. I started doing more exercise. My mind was a lot more clear with being sober, and with having my son. He changed everything for me. So I realized that I should still be making music, because that's what I do, and that's what I've always done, and I think I'm quite good at doing that. So
you're awesome, man. Having so many songs in your music library is awesome.
Well,
I would think.
I had all this stuff that I had planned to record, but I didn't know. I always said to people, I have a few things written, but I don't have the energy yet. And I was saying the same thing, repeating this line for years. And then this was the time. So I had the energy back. So I started writing things down, I didn't have any equipment, any music equipment. So I was writing things down on pieces of paper, like in a notebook, the arrangements that I had in my mind. And I finished off writing the lyrics and everything. I've got 2 notepads in front of me here. I'll show you. This is one of them. Right, and it's got like
That's where the magic is going on.
Like all the stuff scribbled down.
That's genius, man.
And I've had that for about 7, 8 years. That book, and Grace Road is in that book. That's where before
you could use those compositions at any time. I mean, like for a new alternative, like.
Well, yeah.
What's the plan promoting Grace Road?
Well, I was going to record like just before the pandemic kicked off. I'd spoken to a guy in the city here to record in his studio. And he's a drummer. He's a great musician. And that was the plan, but then the pandemic kicked off, and I didn't go out much because I had my son. I didn't want. Nobody knew how dangerous this virus was, and whether it would affect the kids badly or whatever. So I didn't take any risks. So I didn't do anything. I didn't go out much, and I just cancelled my plans. And I continued working on the music, something. And then I just got round to doing it. I had another child in the meantime. I have a baby daughter now. It's nearly 8 months.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And
we have a few pictures of you here. I believe we're taken in Monterrey, Mexico. I can tell because the backgrounds, these seem awfully familiar to me.
Okay.
How is the life of a musician, producer, composer, and family man going on in a different country?
It's the same. I just feel better here. I feel less like the life is less formal here. It's simplified for me. Like when I live in Europe, there's always some kind of pressure, some kind of formal pressure, and here it's more relaxed. The daily life's more relaxed, and I think, because of me being a stranger, it's different. But even so, it's not as judgmental. Like I can be myself here. I don't get judged, in the street or whatever I'm doing. People look at me because I'm obviously not from here. But like, I can be myself. I can relax more. There's a lot of things I don't like about the place, but there's a lot of things I don't like about Europe. So I get by here, and I found a way where I can do my work on music. Now I built my own studio with things from the market. I really DIY. I put everything together on a budget, and I'm in a good position to continue making music and stuff. And
do you consider Mexico your main inspiration?
Not really inspiration, no. It's just like, but this is where I took a lot of time out. So it's just because I felt more comfortable being here. Like when I've had problems before in Europe, I don't know, it's more difficult to escape or something. But when I stop drinking, I can face my problems here, and because I can relax more. And
I've been to Mexico, and I know for a fact that Monterrey, where you live in, has a good, or I could say one of the best music scenes in Latin America. Is this why you chose to live in Monterrey?
No, I don't. I'm not part of any scene. I don't work like that. I make music for myself first of all, and then the people. There are people who've followed me for years, for decades even, and I want them to know that my music's available, and all that. I don't think about the local scene. Doesn't mean anything to me. I think in this day and age, I think it's always gone on actually, but there's always like a local scene, and the local bands are interested in being important in their local scene, and they want all the girls to know who they are and all this stuff. But like, I've never ever been like that, even like when I was a teenager, and like we were on MTV every other week, when I was like 18, 19 years old. And it didn't change anything with me in my local scene in Liverpool. So when I see it now, I'm a middle-aged man. I don't partake in any of that stuff. I think for me, that's the ugly side of music, you know. And I see bands that don't help each other out. They're only interested in getting attention on Facebook in one city in the world. I make music for people all over the world. There's a lot of people in Iran who follow my music. Like, I've got hundreds of followers from Iran. You know, I'm not part of that local scene. I don't care who's who and whatever. I'm happy and it's magic that there's so many people there who listen to my music. You know,
we definitely love your old work with Anathema. I have some pictures here from the old days to show the people watching. Do you still listen in your stereo or your radio, your old compositions, and go like, well, I could have done something different?
Not anymore. I don't think I'll ever go back to listening to that stuff ever again. It's done. That's done and dusted. It's a closed chapter, and that chapter stayed open for way too long. Like, I left the band 24 years ago. I left the band, and it's followed me round like a bad smell ever since. It's done me less favors than it's been positive for me. It goes against me a lot of the time, because they became one of those bands where people would put off the band because of the behavior of their fans. There are various bands like that. Like, it's like Nirvana became like that. I thought Nirvana were a great band, but the fan base, the typical stereotypical fan base, put a lot of people off listening to them, and Anathema became something like that. So no, I've spent enough time with that name and those songs and everything, and those fans that bothered me for more than 2 decades. So I've spent enough time on those things. But
you joined Anathema in 1991. You came into the band to replace Jamie.
That's right. Yeah, I just turned 16 years old.
Why would Jamie leave such great project?
He went to study. He was supposed to go and study, but then he didn't. So, and he ended up on tour with us all the time anyway. So
he ended up making like a self band or band of his own.
No, he was away with us all the time. So he could have actually stayed in the band because he didn't go and study like he was supposed to. But in a way, I wish he would have. But we're going back 30 years now.
Exactly. Then you released the EP, The Crestfallen, in 1992, which is an awesome masterpiece. Then Serenades, that was a full length, the first full length in 1993, where you most of the songs are here were your compositions, right?
No, but I didn't start writing until Pentecost 3, the second EP we made. And then I wrote some stuff on the Silent Enigma. And then
that was 1995, right?
Pentecost 95.
There's a cool fact here. I wanted to ask you that you were on tour with Iron Maiden as an opening act.
No,
you weren't? Okay, that must be a lie there in the web. And then you released Eternity in 1996.
Yeah, well, on Eternity, that's when I started writing songs, complete songs. I wrote most of that album, and that's when the sound changed. It was more gothic because I was writing more songs. So it wasn't like we didn't sit down and decide to change. I just brought things to the table that we used, and I brought my style into it. So it's like very gothic with a lot of Pink Floyd influences, and that was my style. They're my influences. So I brought that into the band. Then on Alternative 4, I also wrote most of that album as well. and it's my sound. I brought my influence in there, and that's the end of it for me.
And that was the fourth studio album released in 1998, Alternative 4. We're also looking at a picture right now that you did a reunion celebrating the 20th year anniversary of Alternative 4 with concerts in South America and Mexico.
Yeah, a few years ago, we did a few gigs. It was like a week or 10 days away. And yeah, it was strange. They were strange gigs. It wasn't really a celebration of the album. The guys had these things lined up, and I was invited along. But it was a strange story, strange experience. But we did a proper reunion in 2015 with the original lineup, and we played stuff from Serenades, and we played songs from every album. We covered it. The set list was 3 hours, so that was like the big reunion. The acoustic thing wasn't really a celebration of alternative folk. That was just there on the posters.
How did Latin America reacted to such a great concert? I mean, even though it was acoustic,
just acoustic gigs. For me, it was not like it's just getting up and playing the songs. It was like there was backing tracks like on a laptop, which I wasn't really keen on, but it wasn't. It was just the guys wanted to go on tour, and I got invited along to do it, and that was there.
Hey,
good reaction. Like Chile was sold out. I think we did 2 gigs in the same day, 2 sets. Chile was sold out. There was a lot of people there, and they loved it. But I don't know, like for me, it would have been better to do like real acoustic gigs in a smaller setting, not in these big venues, and like without the laptop backing tracks. I didn't think that was necessary, but that's my style. That it wasn't my call.
So you started writing for Anathema in 1996 era on the Eternity album, and you only used an acoustic guitar to write your songs, right?
Yeah, that's when I started writing songs in complete songs. Like before, because like the Silent Enigma was chaos, and putting the songs together was chaos really. It was so difficult and so stressful. So I thought for the next album we need to put more work in and get everything prepared a long time before we go into the studio. So I did. I put my money where my mouth was. I said we need to do this, so I did it, and the others didn't. Right. So it was never like a case of me deciding, right, I write all the songs now. It wasn't my fault that the other guys didn't, So that's when I started writing songs properly, because and lyrics as well, because we didn't have our lyricist since Darren. So,
I did read from a press release article on the web, and then these are one of the founding members' own words. He stated that you, Duncan, totally enabled a whole new way of songwriting, while the songs were sounding even better when you started writing with them.
Well, I came from a different place. Like I had different influences than the guys. Like when I joined the band, they'd ask me if I knew how to play Entombed and loads of death metal stuff, but they weren't my influences. So I didn't know this stuff. For metal, my influences were like Celtic Frost, Old Sabbath, like the. But the first few Sabbath albums, Ozzy Sabbath, Hellhammer, but then I was also big into Pink Floyd, Roy Harper. big influence. Sid Barrett, big influence. So I brought that thing, but my music sounds gothic. So, and I don't know where that comes from, because like I was never like a big fan of that style of guitar, like Fields of the Nephilim kind of guitar. I think I was never a big fan of that. But my style of writing is somewhere there. So I don't know where that comes from. Actually, it comes from within. I don't know. Maybe it comes from like when I was young, when I first started playing guitar. I used to make all these like little medieval kind of things, little ditties. They weren't very original, but it was something I enjoyed playing. So so the band changed when I started writing stuff, and it's there, it's documented. So I don't have to explain it too much.
Right. It's like you say, it's been a long time, and we already lived those years, and we did enjoy those.
I have no problem talking about that, but I'm not gonna overanalyze the stuff, again and again and again. But what I'm saying is, it's documented. The change is documented, and the reason is I started writing songs, and that was. So the band changed. I wanted to tune the guitars up. On Eternity, we were still tuned down to B, which is like a death metal tuning.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to tune up to E, standard tuning, but I was outnumbered by two guitarists. So I had to wait until the next album, because we made a mistake doing that. It's my fault as well for not insisting. But on Eternity, I didn't get too even though I wrote most of the songs, I didn't get too involved in the studio. Like, I didn't dictate what happened. I let the other guys get on with the recordings, and I think we overdid a lot of the stuff. There's too much going on, too much instrumentation, too many keyboards, too many guitars, all at the same time, and it was tuned in the wrong tuning. So I learned that lesson, and I didn't make the same mistake on Alternative 4. So everything was more minimal. The guitars were tuned up, it sounded tighter, more clear, basic sound, more intimate. I think it worked better.
You do have another project going on. It's called ANTIFEAR. And is this going to be like the main influences you have from 90s, like Hailhammer? I read you like Fugazi and Despite. And...
Yeah, like this. We'd spoken about doing something in the mid-90s, just me and Darren, which is more like Hailhammer kind of thing. And when we got speaking a few years ago, and I said, why don't we do a 7-inch, like 2 or 3 songs? And Darren said, okay. So I said, I'll try and write something heavier, because I'm not very good at writing heavy stuff. All my stuff is clean guitar, my best stuff. I've used distorted guitar in parts, but it's not where I'm best. I don't think it doesn't suit me. I don't know. Anyway, I borrowed a guitar and I wrote a few songs, and they're quite heavy and it sounds quite good. And I said, have a listen to these demos.
Is it punk goth that you're looking at?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, that's interesting. For those tuning in right now, we are with the Liverpool-born songwriter Duncan Patterson, and who has been active since early 1990s. He signing his first record contract at age of 17. He was playing clubs and festivals around Europe and South America with his first band, Anathema. After quitting the band in 1998, Patterson formed another band called Antimatter, a musical entity intended to transcend genres and exist outside of the commercial music industry. The music can be described as dark, emotive, often cinematic, regardless of the instrumentation used. There's a unique aura to Patterson's compositions. After 3 albums with Antimatter, he ventured further afield collaborated with various artists, including Irish alternative rockers, The Aftermath, whose singles reached the national charts. Can you tell us something about this charts for us in Latin America? Well, that means,
With
wow,
the
you
Aftermath,
did.
they were great days for me because I was playing with a band again, playing out with a live band, and I'm so glad that I did this because I yearned to go and play live with a band and travel around again in the band with other musicians, and that I enjoyed that more than anything. That was my favourites. My favourite days on tour were with those guys, and we used to play weddings and all kinds, hotels, outdoor festivals, any kind of gig you can think of. We did. Two-piece gigs with just two of us, and there's people fighting in the bar and everything, windows being smashed. But with that band, I had no pressure because I was like a guest musician. I started off doing them a favour by playing bass for a few gigs, and I ended up doing it for 2 or 3 years. It was brilliant. I had no pressure. They weren't my songs, but the main songwriter, Johnny Cronin, is a brilliant songwriter. Like, some of those songs, I listen to them now as a fan. Even though he's a good friend, I lived with him for 2 years as well. But I'm also a fan of his music, and great times, really. And it was brilliant for me. And if I hadn't have done that, maybe I'd still be like, I'd feel I had something missing from my career that I had to fulfill, because I'd never had that kind of enjoyment with going on tour. And I did with those guys, and I'll always be grateful for them for getting me on board. They said I was doing them a favour, but they did me a huge favour, you know. So, nice one, lads. Nice one.
Awesome. And how about the collaboration with the German rapper Bushido? Can you tell us more about how's it working with the rapper? I
Well,
mean,
he wanted
as a goth
sample.
musician?
He wanted sample, like I did instrumental for Antimatter called Terminal from the second album, and he sampled it. And the song that he sampled it was, I think it went to number 6 in the German chart, which is a lot of records. And
wow, that's great.
yeah, we got in touch, and it's mad. If I look at it on YouTube, it's got millions of views.
Wow, man, that's awesome, man. I really enjoy,
nice to have
that you saying that.
Well, the thing is, like, I don't like the music industry, and I don't want to be part of it. I want to exist outside. But I'm very lucky that he chose to sample this stuff, because I didn't have to partake in any of the ugliness, the stuff that I'm against. I can sit back and watch it happen, which is pretty cool. So, like, I can show people, and people don't expect me to be a rap superstar. You know, I show them that video and say, that's me. Not the Turkish guy, but me. the guy in the harp and the piano.
Right. So your solo project is doing well, and we can find it in the BANDCAMP. You can see the description down there. The debut album, The Eternity Suite, was released in 2015, and you surprised us in 2022 with a long-awaited follow-up called The Grace Road, which we'll also see in the near future, ANTIFEAR, with a collaboration with former ANATHEMA vocalist Darren White. So what are the plans for 2022? Do you have any upcoming surprises for us?
Well, I'm going to continue promotion for the solo album, The Grace Road, and that's my priority right now. Keep pushing that. With ANTIFEAR, we have like 30 songs. We have so many songs to work through, and we'll get to that when we're together in the same country. We can get the album worked out. I think we can work fast in the studio, and we don't stay in bed late.
We're looking at some of your promo pictures here for your latest release. These are great pictures, man. Who did the credit? Who can we give credit to?
A friend of mine, Adriana, here in Monterey, she did me a favor because I needed some photos last minute, and she said, "Okay, we can do it tomorrow early. Meet me in town early." So we went. That was it.
And this is the cover of the new release, Grace Road. You can see the description right there. You can listen to it. I heard that you were giving away hundreds of copies. Is that right?
Well, it is. It's like there's a CD being pressed as we speak, but it was released on BANDCAMP on last Monday. And a lot of people here, like I live in Mexico, there's a lot of people here who don't have PayPal, they don't have credit cards, they don't have a way to order the album. And I put the price very low anyway on BANDCAMP because I don't really believe in selling MP3s or selling digital music. But BANDCAMP has a percentage. BANDCAMP takes a fee from everything that I sell, so I have to put a price on the stuff. I would give it away or donate if you wish, but I have to put a set price for this. It's a new album, you know. But I said, if anyone doesn't have PayPal, or anyone doesn't have credit card, or simply people who don't have money at the moment,
you can send an MP3 copy of it, you know, like.
No, I'll send them a code for BANDCAMP, and then they can enter that into BANDCAMP, and they can get it for free. And that offer is open, and I've made it available for people who can't afford it or whatever, because I want people to have the music. I don't, you know, obviously I need to get money. I can't give everything away for free because I'm an independent artist. I don't sell thousands and thousands of records anyway. I've got mouths to feed. I have 2 young children. But for people who don't have money, I'd rather that they had the album, and I'd rather that they got it from me in good quality, and they can be part of the BANDCAMP community as well. So it's not like, for me, it's not a huge thing to do. It's just like copying on cassette, like we used to in the 80s and 90s. We used to copy albums onto cassette and give it to your friend, or maybe your friend didn't have money, and hey, I want the Iron Maiden collection. Here's 5 tapes, you know.
Man, you have millions of friends around the world now, Duncan. Now that you're giving away your music, you will have more friends even.
I've offered these codes to a lot of people. There's some guys in India, and they had no access. And lads from Iran I was speaking to last night, and they don't have, they cannot purchase the record. So I've given them like 300 codes to download the record, and I said if they need any more, send me a message. Don't be shy. A lot of people are timid and they don't want to ask for it. That's all.
It's just like you did with Luis in Paraguay, right? He's also part of the plan. He has 100. I think.
That's right. I gave him 100. Yeah, I should give them out, and so that's
Paraguay is really good. You know, when it comes to supporting metal, just really. Like Brazil, Chile, Colombia, man, everywhere in South America really should listen to Grace Road. And in Guatemala, of course, we're making, we're trying to promote, we're delivering this message to all you guys who are watching, who are listening to Anathema for a long time. Listen to Duncan Patterson, his new solo project, Grace Road, from Duncan Patterson Music. I mean, what can we expect? Just greatness, right?
If you say so.
Yeah, dark greatness.
Well, I would say so. The actual music is, yeah. But what you will find, maybe not in your country, okay, but in my experience over the decades is I get a lot of messages from Anathema fans, and they say, you're my favorite songwriter. You did this. You did this. I say, okay, thank you. But they haven't listened to anything that I've done since. Nothing. Like, because they need it to be Anathema. They need that name. Otherwise, they don't feel like it's real. I don't know. It's more like, it's not about the music. It's like a cult, and it's quite spooky in a way. It's quite creepy, you know. So there's all thousands of people. Like on my Facebook page, I've got 8,000 followers, and from 8,000, there's probably about 500 who are actively follow, who are actively interested in what I do. If I put like old Anathema photos up, be immediately hundreds of likes. But if I post Grace Road, I'll get like maybe 70.
I do follow your Instagram, man, and I see you're making a lot of exercise and living the la vida loca in Mexico, man. That's great, you know.
Well, yeah,
Mexico is a really nice place to live, I guess.
It can be. It can be. There's ups and downs, pros and cons, like everywhere.
I mean, you're being a father, a family man nowadays. I mean, living in a different country, it can be really inspiring for your kids, you know, to learn more about European culture and perhaps travel in the near future. And that's great. I mean, you will be showing your kids the music that you love, right? They'll
have more opportunities because, like, they won't have so many problems with traveling. Like, if they want to go to Europe, they can go. They can have Irish passports without a problem, so they won't
go to concerts.
Well, yeah, they can go anywhere they want. Like, a lot of friends here have problems when they travel to Europe, for example, if they go to festivals, and they always have problems with immigration because it's kind of like racist against the Mexicans. I remember flying back from here many years ago, and it was during the World Cup in 2010, I think. And I was on the flight from Mexico City to London, and there were these guys who were going to the World Cup and stopping in London for a connecting flight. And as we went through immigration, they got interrogated really badly. And the guy was like, "Show me your tickets. You need to show me your tickets for the football games. We need to see this. We need to check your money." And I've never had that, you know, when I've traveled anywhere as a European. And I don't like seeing that stuff happening. And it's a shame that people are, it's like ingrained racism that they have already, and they should know better because they're working with travelers every single day.
Exactly, every single day, every day.
You know, they can't. I thought, wow, like, that wasn't nice. But with my kids, they can get a European passport, so they'll never have that kind of problem, which is good for them. I'm giving them an opportunity, and they can go and work in Europe if they want.
Exactly.
They can take
learn about more music culture. That's the future. Perhaps the future of Monterrey's music scene, right? Your kids. How do you feel like if your kids were like in the band in the future?
Well, God, I just hope they don't make the same mistakes that I've made over the years. But that's why I'm here. So that's what I. Right.
You're the guide. You're the man to guide them.
If they listen to me, that is, if they listen to me.
I'm sure they do, man.
By that time,
I'm sure they love you. I can see in the pictures.
I might be like, you know, when you're young and there's old guys giving you advice and who don't know what they're talking about because they're from the past.
Well, depends. Depends if you're a European old guy, you know.
I already feel like that now when I'm speaking to like people in the 20s. So, you know what I mean? It's a different era, different generation.
Yeah, different generation, but we live for your music. Obviously, that's why we have you here, man. You're the guest of honor. We really appreciate you taking the time today to talk about your life, man. Your most important facts and past releases, but basically what we want to do is promote your soul project. We find that very interesting that you collaborated with a female singer in this Grace Road release you just released a few days ago. Can you tell us about how you met her, and what do you feel when you listen to her sing? Why did you choose her as
Well,
your
I was
collaborator?
I was looking for something on YouTube last year, and I came across a cover version of Flowers, which I wrote many years ago for Antimatter. It was on the first Antimatter album. And Enes, the singer, and her husband did the cover version on YouTube, and I listened to it. And I was impressed.
Hello, Enes.
How are you? I really impressed. So I commented on the video. I can't remember. I said, "That's a great version. Thanks, you know." And she was happy. She replied, was happy, and I shared it on my Facebook page because I was so impressed with this version. And then we got chatting after that, and I do what I always discourage people from being fans. I don't really like this fan musician barrier thing. I've always discouraged people from doing that. And some people say that I can't take a compliment. Maybe there's some truth in that. I don't know. But anyway, we're speaking like normal people speaking to each other, and I asked her if she was interested in singing one song on the new album, because I had a few other singers that I was speaking to.
Yeah.
And she said she'd be really happy. So we did the Amber Line, the first track, which it released on Christmas Day. And I thought she did a great job. She only did 2 takes on it. And I didn't tell her exactly how to sing or exactly what to do. I gave her a rough guide vocal, and she nailed it in 2 takes. And I was really impressed with it. And it fits. Her voice really fits the music perfectly. So I asked her if she was interested in singing more stuff on the album, maybe backing vocals. And she said, "Yeah, if you want, send me anything, and I'll try." So that one song turned into 2 songs, which turned into 3 songs, which turned into 4 songs, and she ended up singing on the whole album. And it turned out great because of that. You know, it's compatible. Her voice is compatible. Her character is compatible with me because we have a lot in common. Her and her husband are nice people. They love music. They don't have aspirations to be rock stars. They're not motivated by attention or money or anything like that. They get a genuine buzz from doing this music and helping me doing this. I know they're doing me a favor. They're doing me a huge favor. And you know, people say, "Oh, you're so lucky to be singing with someone who's done it." I'm not Bruce Springsteen. You know, I'm an independent musician recording in a small room in Mexico. I don't have a record company behind me. It's all very independent, and it's great working with her, and I'm grateful, so grateful and happy, you know, to be doing this. You know. And you can hear her voice. Everyone can hear how compatible she is on the record, and it's all very honest, and it's not like overproduced either. There's a lot of imperfections on it in the mixing and everything, you know, because I didn't want it to sound too plastic. So it's like organic.
Wow, I'm looking at your Bandcamp right now. Can you see that?
I can see it.
Awesome, man. This is an awesome display. Is this like made out of plastic, or how do you do this? Paper or?
No, it's this card. The
Card?
Digipack's
Wow, it looks great.
Card. Yeah,
Let's see
nice.
the whole community here. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your song titles.
Well, okay. Well, the opener, Absolute Absolutum, is but a lot of the album is based on the cycle of life and dying, and then the cycle repeating again over generations, and history repeating itself and stuff like that. Now, Absolutum was, I got that title from, I was reading, I get ebook, and there was a guy he was talking about at the afterlife and reincarnation and the process and all stuff like that. And one of the titles was Absolutum, and I liked it. There's something about it. It reminded me of like an old Catholic church thing, but a bit more cosmic. So I decided to use that because the lyrics are about, about getting old and about being prepared for dying, really, or getting tired, being tired. And if your
You're in great shape, man. You're not dying at all.
Not yet.
I follow you on Instagram.
How
about the quiet light? What does that mean? The quiet light.
Well, the quiet light. I had another title for that called Ashes. That was originally called Ashes, and again, it's about dying, about preparing for death. And Ashes was like crematorium. It's almost death metal, but it's like I'm trying to write in a nice way. Like it's morbid, but in a calm, melancholic way. And
I see what you mean. So you're taking us in a trip, like from absolutum, then perhaps you died, and then you walk between worlds.
It's intentional, The order is intentional, and
awesome.
When walking between worlds, is like the spiritual planes and stuff like that. But that was based on I saw. In my bedroom years ago, I saw like an orb of light, and it lit the whole room up. I won't go into detail too much. And it flew around the room, and I thought it was a firefly. I didn't know what it was. And that changed my whole perspective on spirits. And I was like, wow.
You definitely felt something.
Yeah, and I believe that this is some kind of message from another place. So if I put walking between worlds, if people are trying to send us messages from I'm big into this ancestry thing, and reincarnation with ancestors reincarnating within the family. So it's something around that, and the amber line is about making mistakes and giving up your precious time on earth for somebody who doesn't deserve it. It's about being in an abusive relationship, and you are trauma bonded, and you look back and 5-10 years have gone past that you've just given away for nothing, and all your friends and family are trying to give advice about this, and you know that you're in this thing, but it's very difficult to get out of because of the trauma bonds. There's a lot more being written about these things now. It's emotional and psychological abuse, and I think it needs to be more documented. I think people need to know more about this, and that's kind of linked to the messages from the spirit world that I was speaking about before. It's like you're getting signals coming in to say, like, you shouldn't be doing this. You need to get away from this situation. I've been to a few psychics while I was writing early on, when I was writing the music years ago. And they all pretty much said the same thing to me. They all told me the same thing. And they said I was getting messages from beyond the grave. And I had to get out of this situation that I was in. So it's linked. It's all linked to that.
Kind of like what happens in Latin America. There are a lot of shamans, and there are a lot of spiritual people that could guide you through, what visions or signals. We would call it signals, I think.
Yeah. It's
what would happen? like when you broke up with your girlfriend or something like that, and you're like watching signals and trying to figure it out and moving on, right? Stuff like that. Every light, everything that happens has a meaning. I think I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. So you're with me there. Yeah. I'm not totally crazy. Like, there is
no, man. I never said that. Your music is amazing. I think it totally has a meaning, and it's like you said, it comes from within. So if you haven't felt like that in the past, or if you haven't felt like that when you're in love or when you really desire something, I think maybe you're too young, or maybe you're too naive or something, or you're too high on drugs or something, that you're not looking at stuff that really happens around you, right?
That's right. You get more focused. Yeah. You can get more focused, can't you?
Centered and matured. That's what I sense of your new music, and it's great to have new releases and to make changes in life. And I do understand something like why you're changing your inspiration, or I'm not sure if I'm saying the right words, but the kind of music you're making.
But that's why I think as well, like, it's been a long time since, I mean, the Eternity Suite was 6 years ago, but that was like a stopgap record anyway. That wasn't like, they were old songs, old pieces of music put together in a different instrumentation. Like, so it's been a long time since I wrote an album, I wrote lyrics and everything, and it's been good that I had so long in between. I don't think them years that I took out were not as wasted as the years I had before, when I was in impossible situations. I needed that time. I needed to get sober, and I needed to get focused on what I was doing. I really needed that time out. So when people say, "Oh, you've lost many years there," but I needed to do it. Otherwise, I would have just continued in the same cycle, making the same mistakes and complaining about it. And I'm not doing that now. I've cut off so many toxic people, ladder climbers, people who were using me for things, people who took advantage of my soft side, because I can forgive very easily. And I can see people coming. I can see a lot, like, when people are trying to take advantage of me, I can see it. But in the past, I used to let it go. I think I'd feel sorry for the people for having that mentality, and it was so obvious for me. But now I don't let anything pass. I'm more strict. I'm more tough now. And I, in a way, like, I've got a shorter temper these days now that I'm sober, which is usually the opposite. But like, I don't stand for much bullshit these days, and it's really good for me. It serves me well. So I think this is how I should have been. I've had to grow into myself somehow.
I'm glad Latin America is doing that new like sense of feelings for you. I'm really glad that is happening here in America Latina, and I'm really glad that you're doing excellent music, and your kids are maybe waiting for you to go play with them, and and that's awesome, man. That's totally awesome. That's the feeling we as Latinos have every day. Perhaps people in the news see the worst things about Latin America, but no, we're people that like to play and love each other,
But like a lot of friends of mine back in Europe, they're too afraid to come and visit me here because they think it's so violent. But where they live, there's a lot more random violence. Yeah, I've never ever been involved in random violence in Mexico. Never. Like, I've had trouble with the police, and I've had fights, physical fights, but not randomly, Whereas
intentionally, yeah, of course, you need to defend yourself, of course.
Like, here there is violence, but it's targeted stuff that's gang related, and that's nothing to do with me. You know, that doesn't affect me at all. Like, there was a shooting here last week.
Wow.
In the next street. Sad, you know, I don't like it, but it was nothing to do with me. I wasn't targeted. Somebody was targeted for gang-related stuff. You know? Now, in Liverpool, where I'm from, it's very aggressive, random violence. People fight a lot. Just going out drinking and fighting. It's normal. It's normalized, and I've never had that here. Well, I've had smart asses speaking to me bad, and I've had to kind of respond in an aggressive way. But usually they walk away. Usually they say sorry and go, you know. But it's not usual here. It's not like a daily thing, you know. So what's written in the press scares people off, but a lot of the time they live in much worse places in that respect.
I'm really glad you're doing great. And the new music is awesome. Check it on duncanpatterson.bandcamp.com. We will be saying goodbye for today because it's been almost an hour talking to this amazing composer. Duncan, any final words for the people in Guate Metal?
Well, thanks for the interest. Thanks for inviting me on the show. I really appreciate it. And really, if anyone, like I was speaking about before in the interview, if anybody wants a copy of the album and doesn't have PayPal, doesn't have funds, send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, and you can have the album for free. Easy.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Duncan, for taking
Nice
the
one.
time, for letting me ask you all these questions, maybe personal questions, but we're really interested in learning more about your music. And people in Guate Metal, you can tune in. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this interview with everyone. Duncan Patterson in the house. Have a great day, Duncan.
You too, mate. Gracias.